Good morning, everybody. Got a little science video today talking about the seasons. So we've already talked about how the rotation of the Earth and its orbit around the sun is how we get our days and years. We pull our globe from over here. So one rotation of any planet, including our Earth, it's 1 day. Now, our Earth takes how long to rotate completely on its axis? 24 hours, that's right. And it takes how long to orbit the sun all the way around? 1 year, or 365 1/4 days. That's how we get our leap years. So each planet has a different amount of time for its rotation, its day, and its orbit, or year. Today, we're going to talk about how the Earth's rotation and the tilt of the planet relates to different seasons. What are the 4 seasons that we have? Spring, summer, autumn or fall, and winter. So Earth's orbit around the sun is not a perfect circle. I'll be presenting my screen a little bit with this reading today, but it's elliptical, or kind of an oval, okay? Or shown kind of more this way. Actually, where's my whiteboard? There we go. Okay. So Earth's orbit, if this is the sun, Earth's orbit goes away, farther away at times, and then at times closer. You think it's warmer when we're closer to the sun? Yeah. So, and when we're further away, it's a little colder and less light, right? So, or not as direct hot light as much. So let's take a look. That's the Earth's orbit. So it says that the Earth's orbit is an oval or ellipse. Because of this, Earth is a little closer to the sun in January than it is in July. So Earth has 4 seasons because its axis is tilted. As Earth revolves around the sun, this tilt causes parts of Earth to point more toward the sun. So other parts of the Earth point more away from the sun. So at the same time that some are pointed more towards the sun, others are pointed more away. Let me switch this around because there is a light right here that will help you see kind of where I'm talking about for the sunlight. So at this time, there's more sunlight on, we would say, the northern hemisphere, the northern part of the globe. At other times of our rotation, it's the southern part that gets light. So the equator is an imaginary line that divides Earth into 2 halves. The halves are called the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. When the northern hemisphere is tilted toward the sun, like this, the sun's rays hit it more directly. This part of Earth is in summer during that time that it's tilted toward the sun. I'll show you a picture in just a moment too. There are more hours of daylight in summertime, and temperatures are generally warmer. Now, when the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, like this northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, the sun's rays hit it less directly. Now this part of Earth has winter. The sun appears lower in the sky, and there are fewer hours of daylight. Temperatures are colder. I'll show you what this looks like in our book now. So here's the sun. Here's the sun pointing in spring to the southern hemisphere. Here's fall, here's winter. As you can see, depending on the place in the orbit, the sun may be pointing more towards the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. You see that? So at summertime, for the northern hemisphere, the sun is directly there. And for winter in the southern hemisphere, for winter in the northern hemisphere, it's summer in the southern hemisphere. So it's always opposite. So if you were to go to South America or Africa or Australia, those places are in the southern hemisphere below our equator, their summers are the opposite of our summers in America, and their winters are also the opposite of ours. Now, the number of hours of daylight changes little by little during the year. One day each year has technically the most hours of sunlight or daylight. That day is what we call the summer solstice because it's getting all of this direct sunlight. It gets more light than any other time. In the northern hemisphere, the summer solstice happens on June 20th or June 21st, and it's the start of summer. Now, one day each year has the fewest hours of daylight. That day is called the winter solstice. In the northern hemisphere, that happens on December 21st or 22nd, and it's the start of winter. So it's the day with the least amount of sun. And that's how we get our seasons. It all depends on where our part of the globe is most getting the most sunlight, or when in Earth's orbit we would be getting the most sunlight. So that's why we have different seasons, because of that tilt. If our planet was just up and down, that's way too close. I'll take off of it for now. It'd be totally different if our planet was just up and down, perpendicular, but with this tilt like this, the southern hemisphere sometimes is closer, and other times the northern hemisphere is closer. It all depends. Okay, I've got another little book for us to go through, Sciencesaurus, and then you've got some notes to take and an extra little video to watch as well. So actually, I'll present my screen again. Here is another image similar to what we just looked at, but with the dates of the start of each season. So June 21st for the northern hemisphere, and these are all about the northern hemisphere dates, but June 21st for the northern hemisphere is when we get the most sunlight, that's summer solstice. And December 21st is when it's the least amount of sun, and it's the winter solstice for the northern hemisphere. March 21st is the start of spring, September 22nd, the start of fall. So it says summer is when the northern hemisphere is the warmest. In July, August, and September, sunlight strikes the northern hemisphere more directly and for more hours each day than it does in January, February, and March. So the northern hemisphere has summer from July until September. Once again, just for the northern hemisphere. So here is the northern hemisphere on this little globe. As you can see, there's all of this direct sunlight. And for the south, sorry, I was looking at the South Pole, but for the southern hemisphere, it gets less. So it's in winter during North summer. Seasons are the opposite in the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. The first day of summer in the northern hemisphere happens when the northern hemisphere is most tilted toward the sun. At the same time, That's a typo, sorry. The first day of winter comes to the northern hemisphere. And on this day, the southern hemisphere is most tilted away from the sun. So as the north gets the most light, the south gets the least light. And it's the same for the opposite. When it's fall in North America, it is spring in South America. When it's spring in North America, it's fall in South America. On the first day of fall and spring, Earth isn't tilted either away from or toward the sun. Day and night are about equal in length. So day and night are about equal. It's not the super long or short days of daylight. Okay, that is all for this video. You're going to have a little picture to put in your notes and some notes to take as well. I want to go over that with you all for just a moment as well. So we've been doing several pictures this week in our notes. This one is of the seasons. Let me present it. Okay, so here is a picture that, and I'll have this on the Bright Thinker assignment if you want to just print it off. Or if you don't have a printer at home, you can just draw this on your own. And I'm sure some of you are thinking this is way too detailed to draw, but you don't have to draw all the lines of the equator and all the degrees of latitude and longitude. You could just draw 4 little Earths and label when winter and summer solstice is. You don't have to write the degrees either, or some of this extra. I would say what's most important is showing the direction of the sunlight and also writing the dates of summer and winter solstice. Obviously, sun in the middle, showing where we get the most sun, and it's going to be very focused on the northern hemisphere. So it's summer for the northern hemisphere. June 21st is the start. Winter for the northern hemisphere starts December 22nd or so. Okay, so this page has 2 on it though. So when you print it off, there will be 2. But go ahead and either print it off and just glue it into your notebook, or you can, if you would prefer, draw your own variation of it without all this extra detail. You don't have to draw all the lines. You'll also be taking a few notes, so you can just add those bullet points of information next to you or underneath the picture. And then there will be a little video to watch also on Bright Thinker. Okay, I hope you guys are enjoying the lessons, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.